Today, we get a massive injury update revolving Francisco Lindor. Is he back in the lineup? Yeah, kinda, sorta. Plus, we break down the new updates revolving Metropolitan Park, the new casino mixed-use space Steve Cohen wants to put around Citi Field. What's going on, everybody? It's Flobo Boyce. You're locked into Mets Digest, your one-stop shop for Mets content all around the globe. Thank you so much for rocking with me, because I know there's so many Mets platforms out there. Myself alongside Mike D'Angelo, we want to break down the news and notes that's important to you, and so it'll be important to us if you hit that subscribe button. That's right, you see that 76.8%. Those are people watching the videos and not hitting subscribe. Don't be that guy. Don't be that gal. Make sure you hit subscribe. Okay, we get that out the way. Let's get right into the nitty gritty. Francisco Lindor, my captain, has been pretty much AWOL for the past week and a half, trying to figure out whether or not he'll be able to be helpful for the squad. I know Luis Acuna has filled in pretty nicely, but we always want to know what's going to be next with Francisco Lindor. Now, remember, from Tuesday's game this week in Atlanta, a game that unfortunately we lost 1-5, he was on the on-deck circle ready to slide in for Tyrone Taylor. And as I record this right now, the lineup cards for the Wednesday game here on September 25th was submitted with Lindor batting leadoff in the lineup, which was interesting to me because more likely than not, as I record this, it may get rained out because Atlanta is in the middle of a monsoon. That said, though, there really was inklings about whether or not Francisco Lindor was healthy and whether or not he'd be willing to play. It seems to be a day-to-day situation. The injury list was not going to be an option for Francisco Lindor, so it's going to be pretty much whenever you felt comfortable because you have to give a veteran that spot. This was actually taken from Carlos Mendoza, the Mets manager, right ahead of Tuesday's game. This is the game we're talking about in question when Francisco was ready to go in the on-deck circle, even though he didn't get a chance to play. Mendoza said, let's see how he feels tomorrow. He could be in play, Mendoza said. He kept hitting throughout the game, sat down a couple times, went into the cage and was moving around. He felt good enough to say, give me an at-bat if it gets there. Now, I know the Lindorks have come out of the woodwork and talking about him, homeboys milking it for a bunch of reasons, and one of those reasons we'll get to in quite a second. But to me, I do think it's actually behooves us to keep Francisco Lindor as cautiously healthy as we can because, as of right now, we have over a 75% chance moving over to the postseason. Yeah, we dropped the game in Atlanta, but winning the other two would pretty much lock it away. And of course, the extra wins in Milwaukee can't hurt the squad as well. So, moving on, we have a little bit of the injury side of things. The reason why I bring up the Lindorks is because structurally, there's nothing wrong with Lindor's back. This one comes from MLB.com. It says, the Mets still don't know exactly what's causing Lindor's back pain, only that it's been severe enough to prevent him from taking the field. Initially, team trainers diagnosed Lindor with spasms, the product of an awkward play around second base back on September 13th. We're approaching 2 weeks now as it is. Subsequent MRI and CT scan revealed no structural damage, but continued pain in the area prompted Lindor to hang back in New York and received a bone scan during the team's off day on Monday. That, too, showed nothing amiss, underscoring this is a pain tolerance issue for Lindor. So knowing me, knowing Lindor and what I've seen from the guy, I don't think he's milking it, so you could stop the conspiracy theory as it is right now. But I will say, though, hopefully he's able to be improved. There was no structural damage, no muscular damage. It's only a matter of time till he feels comfortable to move forward. So, of course, we want the best for our captain. We want to be able to see how he can play. But as the lineup cards were submitted on Wednesday, he is in the lineup batting first in that spot in place of Luis Angel Acuna. So everything seems to be towards the end of that tunnel and that light, especially with this week where it feels like we've been playing do or die game for the past 2 weeks. This 3-game set with Atlanta, which one we lost already, is super important. If we win the next 2, then we're automatically in. If we don't, then it kind of becomes out of our hands as far as destiny is concerned, whether or not it comes down to our faring against the Brewers and whether or not the Arizona Diamondbacks can stop their own free fall. So beating Atlanta twice pretty much put this on ice. So it's super important we have all hands on deck. And I don't mean that as a sort of a pun because we all know Jeff McNeil will probably be in the lineup if his hand injury wasn't keeping him out and on the IL. Another news, Steve Cohen is kind of doing a bit of a mission here of trying to build Citi Field into one of those destination parks and stuff. Now, this is an entertainment district, Metropolitan Park. We have new information on that some renderings have been released. We're going to show you them right here. This was released the other day. And Steve Cohen has been very adamant by just taking the culture around the Citi Field Park. He always made the joke that you can get your muffler fixed around town. He wants to build a mixed entertainment district, much like the Power and Light District in Kansas City or the Battery Atlanta, but take it one step further with a hotel, with a casino, and also the secondary park for the New York City Football Club, which is ironically co-owned by the New York Yankees. These renderings were released this week, giving a bit of a look and feel of what Metropolitan Park is going to be and what it looks like moving forward. A lot of grasslands, and this is actually important for a moment later, a lot of grasslands, a city park, to really bring home the idea that it's going to be more of a unique sense of entertainment district. The reason why I'm saying that as well, on top of the park situation, is that a lot of times entertainment districts can be cookie cutter. Add a couple bars, add a couple restaurants, and there you go. But the land that Citi Field is on is in a very unique situation. And this is why this idea for Metropolitan Park has been stalled. There's two big reasons for that. And the first reason is this. I want you to bring this up so I can see it here, and I'll transition over. This is from amny.com. Shout out to Ben Brockfeld, who says this: many of the bids have faced significant community opposition, a potential death knell in the system designed to center the input of local politicians. Cohen's bid is facing particular headwinds. The parking lot at Citi Field is technically considered parkland, and allowing development on the site will require a parkland alienation bill from the state. And there lies one of two of the rubs, because who is going to make a parkland available for a corporate project? You're going to have to make sure you clear all of those political hurdles. And that's something, a bit of context, I didn't quite understand. And it makes sense why Citi Field was built in the parking lot of Shea and not moved some elsewhere or moved to another part of the park, is because most of that stuff is protected by those natural laws. And so you see some of the opposition about the mixed use thing here. But ultimately, on top of this, in my own research, it's the casino, which is also a bit of a roadblock for Metropolitan Park. Steve Cohen wants to have a casino on the grounds, and to do that, you need a casino license. And even though Stephen Cohen is working with the Hard Rock Casino Group, there's only going to be 3 gaming licenses set for downstate projects. That's New York City, Long Island, and everything south of the Hudson Valley. And there is up to and including 11 different bidders vying for 3 of those licenses. So the casino is really much a license to print money. That's kind of said as much. I'm referencing an article on the subject by the New York Magazine about having these organizations with casino licenses. But on top of that, the land of which Steve Cohen wants to use is considered parkland, and that's been really the 2 major roadblocks. But that said, the renderings for Metropolitan Park is pretty much leaning into building a new park around it. It's not going to be strictly a concrete beach, to say the least. You're going to have a lot of vegetation. It only comes down to whether or not local governments think that's enough. As for me, I do wish there was something for more people to do outside of Citi Field before, during, and after the games. But of course, as a New Yorker, you want to make sure it's done right, and everyone who has an interest in the space is satisfied. So we got to wait and see what it's going to be about that. But let me know, as we hit to the end of the video, your thoughts about today's news, notes, updates. Francisco Lindor is technically in the lineup for September 25th after being out for almost 2 weeks. And we finally get some look inside of what Metropolitan Park would look like if the casino license and that parkland alienation goes through for Steve Cohen and company. Well, thanks so much for checking out this edition of Mets Digest. We'll be back more with more news and notes. And as always, it's LGM to the bitter end.